You know, I keep saying that spring is going to come, and right now we're actually in the midst of a nor'easter. We're supposed to be getting about 4 to 8 inches of snow today, with wind gusts of about 35 miles an hour here in New Hampshire. Luckily, that's actually just the outside clip of the storm. Most of it's out to sea. If that was more centralized on the state, we'd probably be getting slammed with a foot plus of snow, in addition to all the high winds and having all kinds of power outages and such. So, in a continued effort to make spring actually get here, I was watching a YouTube video a number of months ago, and a couple of gentlemen were making up some homemade pollen patties. Now, that's something I'm going to be doing as well, because the pollen patties are going to be part of my spring buildup, which is how I'm going to be prepping for my splits. So, for the homemade pollen patties, this is their recipe originally over here, and don't worry about this, I'll actually put these numbers down below as well. I don't actually have the amount of Pollen Sub left over that I need. I actually only have about 15 pounds of Pollen Sub, so I modified all of the measurements to account for how much Pollen Sub that I have at the moment. And I'm going to go ahead and get that all set up here in a moment. This is Blackwater Honey Forge, named in part after the Blackwater River we live near in central New Hampshire, and in part after the master craftsmanship of honeybees. This is a place for learning, discussion, and to practice the art of beekeeping. Welcome to the journey. Be well and forge on. So first things first, I already got my heavy sugar syrup all set up. I'm going to be adding that here in a minute. In the videos that I watched, I believe they used Ultra Bee. I have MegaBee. It's worked for me. So on my calculations, what I need is 15 pounds of Pollen Sub. So I've got my scale here. Zero that out real fast with the bucket on it. And we'll get 15 pounds in there. Looks like I got a hole in my bag. Yep, there we go. So minus the amount I spilled on the floor, that's my 15 pounds of Pollen Sub. Now, when they mixed this on the video, they did so in a masonry pan. I went out and got this tub instead because that's what's going to work for me. Now I need 7.5 pounds of sugar. Six, 7.5. I got my drill set up. That way I can do a base incorporation with this before I add in the wet. If this is very noisy, I'll probably just speed through this. All right, the next thing I need is 1.5 pounds of water. I need my 16.5 pounds of heavy syrup. And then I need 1 cup of, their recipe calls for vegetable oil, but this is an olive oil blend. And the olive oil, or the oil in general, just keeps the mixture more pliable after it's set up. That way you can actually work it some, because we don't want these to be rock hard. We want to make sure, 1, that we can work them easily, and 2, that the bees can get at the pollen patties well. And I'm going to go ahead and mix this all up, and I'll show you what the incorporated sum of all the parts looks like in a moment. All right, I'm gonna move the camera closer so that way I can show you guys what's going on here. And then as you can see, it's nice and pliable and movable. Now there's a few dry solids in here still, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring this mixture inside where it's warm, because if I leave it out here in the workshop, it's just gonna freeze solid. And I'm gonna let this set up for a few hours, and then I'll just be able to separate this into 1 pound patties and put them in between some wax paper, keep them all nice and separated. But as you can see, it's nice and easy to work. And I will see, since it's my first time making this, if it stays that easy to work once it finishes setting up. So now we have the fun, messy part of the pollen patties. I have out my shipping scale, and we're gonna go ahead and set that to ounces. And I'm looking to just get about 16 ounces, the better part of a pound, for each one of these. Now the consistency on this stayed nice and soft, which I'm trying not to drip it everywhere as I drip it everywhere. And as you can see, it's still nice and malleable, which is good. A little bit more than a pound, but that's okay. That's 1 pound, 2 ounces. Go ahead and flip that right over, get that pressed down, and I'm gonna set that aside. And then these I'll store right in the freezer, and then before I go to use them, I'll take them out a couple hours ahead of time, let them get back up to room temperature, and then I can go ahead and put them right on the hives. You don't want to put frozen patties on your hives, of course, because you don't want to introduce something that's freezing temperatures right on the top of the cluster there. So with the amount of pollen sub or pollen patties that I made, I'm not entirely sure just about how many it's going to yield. And of course, I had to use a modified recipe as well, because I didn't have all the pollen sub that the original recipe called for. So I'm going to go ahead and keep making these 1 pound patties, and then I'll let you know here at the end how many 1 pounders, give or take a few ounces, those yielded with the amount of ingredients that I used. So I'll be back with you in just a bit. So I'm actually still working on making up the patties, but what I did is I weighed the ones that I already made, and then I weighed what's in the remainder of the bucket as well. And it's roughly, all said and done, about 44 pounds minus the weight of this very thin red bucket. So it's at least about 40 1 pound pollen patties. So I'm really hopeful for these. They're very sweet, so it's going to be very attractive to the bees. Plus they're loaded with that pollen sub. So I can't wait to put these on these hives. Come on, spring, please come. So hopefully you found this helpful. I will let you folks know in future videos on how these worked out and if I like them. And I can always change the description below on whether or not I give them thumbs up or thumbs down. So until the next video, be well, forge on.